Hello everyone, my name is Kieran. Welcome back to another live stream from Red Devil Weekly. Tonight is a very special preview on the channel, the second Premier League game of the season. But it's not just that. I have a special guest with me. I've got George and indeed Sarah from BrightonFan TV. Say hello, mate.
You right, guys? George here, BrightonFan TV.
And the reason I mentioned Sarah as well, because she is being the committed soldier that she is holding the camera up as well. So I have to give props to her. So thank you very much for that commitment to the cause, of course. We've already got BHFC News 07. So a Brighton fan already coming into the stream. Welcome to the stream. He says, we're going to beat you. Well, we'll see about that. But, you know, already we've got some support for Brighton in the chat. Yeah, there you go. But obviously, it's going to be good to get a bit of an opposition opinion, because usually on these previews, it's usually just me kind of talking about kind of my thoughts on the United game from the United point of view. But it's good to get a Brighton fan's point of view as well. So hopefully we can do more of these throughout the season with different channels as well. But yeah, obviously I'm going to start with the Brighton end of things. And the first thing I was going to ask, if you guys watching, only really watch United, don't really watch other teams, I wanted to get George to fill in on how kind of Brighton's season, what the expectations are for the season. So yeah, George, I'll hit you up with that straight away. What going into this season, what are your realistic expectations? What do you think Brighton, what do you want out of this season from a Brighton point of view?
I'd say straight up, I'd say survival is still the priority. We've got to focus on that. I mean, it'd be nice to build on what we did last year, but I'd say last year was a rare occurrence in that there was such poor performances down the bottom, such a wide open relegation scrap. I think this year is going to be a lot tighter than it was last year. I mean, if we finished better than we did last year, I'd be chuffed. But again, I'd take any form of survival at this rate.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brighton, I think they've got some decent players. Watching them, they've got some decent players. But I do think with the quality that's in the Premier League right now, I think as a few Brighton fans are saying in here, I think safety, I agree, would probably be the main priority for Brighton this season. But there's no reason why they can't go a bit better than that. I think they've got some decent players. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to welcome a few people to the stream that have just joined. Welcome, Dazza. Welcome to the stream, mate. Thanks for joining. Welcome, Nick, as well. Welcome, Man United Max. Welcome, Alan Cousins. Welcome to the stream, mate. Thanks for joining. Another Brighton fan in there as well, which is great. And welcome, Man United fans. Welcome to the stream, guys. If you haven't already, please do feel free to leave a like. And also, if you haven't checked out BrightonFan TV, the link is in the description down below. So go and check him out and go and give him a watch. But obviously, that's expectations for the season. And obviously, that is. I mean, it's good being realistic, and I think you have to be realistic as a football fan. We all love, believing in fairy tales. We all love kind of wanting our team to do the best. In Brian's case, maybe finishing top 10. Although I'm not sure if you really think that's possible, but it might be. But obviously we like to dream, but sometimes it's good to be realistic.
We can dream. Tony Bloom's already said this week that he's eyeing up long-term plans. He wants top 6, like breakthrough into the top 6. And I mean, it's not beyond the realms of imagination. If Burnley can do it, then, I mean, a few seasons down the line, building on our strengths, good business models. I think what makes it harder this year is that the teams coming up have been quite good quality as well. I mean, Wolves, good quality. Fulham, good quality. And they've got a lot of money behind them as well, just in terms of financial backing that we've seen in the windows just gone. They're pulling some serious cash and bringing in some serious big-time players.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree with that, to be fair. A few more people have joined. Welcome to Manata. Welcome to streamer. Thanks for joining. Here's going with a 4-1 United prediction. We will be going into our predictions very, very soon. But I tell you what, if that was the result, I would take it every day of the week. BHFC News 07 says staying up and finishing above Palace is his one for the season. So obviously, yeah, that thing. If you didn't finish above Palace, it would be a bit of a kick in the teeth for you guys, I imagine.
It was a bit of a kick in the teeth last year.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
It'd be a sweetener.
Okay. So we're going to go on to the next point that I want to ask you about from the opposition point of view. As I said, guys, please feel free to leave a like, and also go check them out in the link in the description down below if you haven't already. The other bit, obviously, Man United's transfer window. In some cases, it was good, obviously, with the signings of Fred and Delo as well. I thought was a good signing. But in terms of the shambolicness that was the kind of end of the transfer window, where we're linked with pretty much every centre-back under the sun, from Alderweireld, Mina, and we didn't get any of them. So it was a bit shambolic in that sense. But I want to ask you, how do you thought, overall your transfer window went?
I think our transfer window was quite successful, if I'm honest, actually. I mean, it was sad to let some go, but it has to be done. It's like refining the squad. There's been a lot around whether Brighton have never been into buying like massive ready-made stars, quite unlike your system at United, where Mourinho really likes tailor-made, ready to go. Whereas ours is more about like homegrown and starting from the bottom. Like Ross last season was outstanding, and I mean he was a pickup from a relegated German side. I mean the big name one is Yannick Vash from the Iranian player. But we haven't seen enough of him to sort of get excited about yet. Andone, he's injured. The one that really excites me at the moment is Basuma. He's the one that's really sort of where you've seen a little bit of flair of something magic. He's the one that gets me going at the moment.
No, I mean I've heard a lot about a few of the signs you made. The Iranian striker you're mentioning. I've heard a lot of good things about him, I've got to say, but. I was giving Pascal Gross. He is one of your danger men. I mean, last season, I believe he got the goal against us in your last home game of the season when you won 1-0. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but
he did.
Yeah. That's probably why I remember him, to be honest. But no, he's a great player. He did fantastically in the Premier League last season. Probably one of the most underrated players, really, in terms of his stats. But I think it's. Obviously, Brian, the amount of funds you guys have to play with, I'm not sure, if you would say if it's kind of big if it's quite a lot of funds for a smaller club of you guys. But I mean, I'm not too sure about your financial situation, but I think you've done quite well in the transfer window, and I think
we've spent big this window, bigger than we have done before. Like last season, Lecardia was our big one at 14 mil, and he still hasn't really broken into first team football. I mean, we can speculate on why that is. Brighton player loan. Well, what I think is that Brighton player loan striker. Now, Lecardia, when he played at PSV, he used to play on the right as part of a 3, similar to Barcelona, and he just hasn't been able to break into the team last season. I mean, 14 million is a hell of a lot to spend on a player that you're not playing, but if it doesn't work in the system, it doesn't work in the system. The other problem areas for us are left back and right back. Like there's quite a bit. We got Bernardo in for left back just in this transfer window. I mean, it was a bit of a baptism of fire against Watford. I thought he played exceptionally well, bearing in mind it was his first game for Brighton, like first team debut. But then within the first half, Bruno's out injured. Bernardo swapped to right back. We've just got Montoya in, and there's a lot of raving about how good he is, ex-Barcelona. He's got silverware behind him, but again, it's something that I'm waiting to. Again, it's something we're waiting to see where that's proven. They reckon he might even start tomorrow. Bruno's out injured, and Schletto hasn't made the 25-man squad for Brighton this year, so it's looking like he might have a similar baptism by fire himself.
Yeah, maybe, and. I think, I certainly think you made some decent additions, and some that could definitely hurt us, I've got to say. And it's never an easy game when we play Brighton, there's no doubt about that, especially last season away. I don't like remembering it, but I have to. But yeah, no, it's never been an easy game, and I think it's going to be a difficult one for us tomorrow as well. But maybe the new signings, they could have a fun. Obviously, first home game of the season for you guys, so it'd be a great stage for them to kind of make their mark. I've got a few comments here. Alan here says, I think we've done better in the striker department, although Andone could turn out to be useful when he's back. Yeah, maybe, potentially. Obviously, if he's not back, then
it'd be interesting to see what he's like at fitness. I mean, it's just getting him back to fitness. At the moment, it's just sort of like a rotating striker thing. I don't know whether you change the system, though. That's the other thing, is do we stick with the single striker up front or just change formation? I mean, if we are going to stick with the single striker, then we've got Murray, we've got Lecardia, we've got Andone coming back. Or do you mix it up?
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's it's always difficult when a player comes back, you know, whether you change, whether you chop and change, or whether you keep the same system. So that's going to be an interesting situation for you guys to deal with. But I did think when you first signed him, I thought he could have, as Alan said there, he could have been a useful player. He could have been a decent signing. So we'll still have to wait and see on that one. BHFC News says, I give our transfer window a solid 9 out of 10. That is solid. He says, if we sign...
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I've matched 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Yeah, I agree. I think it was sensible signings. I mean, that you do risk if you go really hard in the transfer window that you then have no team glue type thing. And Brighton's very much built on that team togetherness. And if you rip the soul out of that, then you haven't really got a lot to work with. I think that was really important for us, that we just build in the key areas rather than just spending all the money on big name signings.
Yeah, no, and I think, you know, that is actually, you know, a very good strategy. Especially, obviously, you know, the big clubs, you know, there's a lot of clubs who, you know, kind of just almost recklessly go out and spend. I mean, it's having a lot of time at Man United. They've gone out and spend, you know, 50, 60 million pounds. We saw it with that Angel Di Maria, and we went out and spent a load of money on players who don't necessarily fit the system. But I think it's better to kind of, you know, actually properly kind of, you know, not as you said, you know, not, it can be dangerous to go in really hard on the transfer window and get people who actually, you know, fit the system is probably the best way. So obviously, you know, the fact that, you know, a lot of Brighton fans are rating the transfer window quite high, you know, is testament to that. Nick says, oh yeah, sorry, go on.
Go on. Nick says.
Oh no, Nick was just saying here, 14 million, 14 million's a lot. Where did Brighton find the money?
The thing is, we've done quite well over the last couple of seasons. I mean, it was hairy if we didn't make the Premier League. If we didn't get promoted when we did, then I think we were looking at dodgy territory. I mean, the stadium selling out. The waiting list for season tickets is nearly 7,000 long at the moment. I mean, there's money being generated, like serious money being generated. And Tony Bloom's not short of money. It's just slowly starting to fruit into the team. I mean, he's bought a Belgian club now. Union Saint-Gilles, I think it is, in Belgium. So we've now got a feeder, almost like a feeder club that we can send players to. It's just we're starting to see the money being spent sensibly. I mean, we're not reckless spenders at all by any means.
Well, I mean, that's obviously good news. I think, obviously, you know, we have seen, unfortunately, for some clubs that, you know, like, you know, that their owners, you know, they've got a lot of money, but they, you know, I think I saw in Newcastle, remember when they got relegated, they went down, they spent quite a lot of money before they got relegated, and the players they bought just weren't fit for the system. And the fact, you know, you really, for a club like Brighton, you can't really afford to be reckless spenders. I think they're doing a great job over there. So, I mean, fair play to you. But obviously, we talked about the background there. Welcome to Sirens for Notch, by the way. Welcome to the stream. If you haven't already, guys, please feel free to leave a like. They'd be absolutely fantastic. But we move on to the game at hand, the matter at hand. Sunday, I'm not sure if it's going to be, I've forgotten the time, but Sunday is afternoon, definitely Sunday afternoon is the kickoff time. 4 o'clock, that's it, my man. Thank you very much. So, yeah, obviously, from a Man United point of view, I do think it's going to be a very difficult game. I think, you know, going away from home is going to be difficult, especially to Brighton. Obviously, you know, on paper, we've got a lot more quality players. We should, and the money we've got in the squad, we should be able to, you know, we should be able to win the game. And that's, but football's not played on paper, as we've known. We know that, and I think, I mean, in my own opinion, I'll get to my prediction in just a second, but in my own opinion, I do think we'll have enough quality to get through it. And if we don't get through it, I think with all the stuff that's going around about Jose Mourinho at the moment, there could be a bit of pressure on him. But enough of my view. I'll get into that just a bit. We're going to go to Brighton, the opposition view, George's view on this. Firstly, I'm going to ask, how do you think you know, Brighton should set up, you know, in terms of the way they play? How do you think you're going to set up, and how do you think you're going to play against us if you are going to get the right result?
I think we're going to go for our classic formation that we have done all season and last season. I think it's going to be obviously trio, Ryan in goal, Dunk Duffy centre backs. I think left back, you got to stick with Bernardo, and I think they'll give a debut to Montoya on the right. How that'll go, no idea, but we don't have a choice because of injuries. I think the middle will stay the same. Stevenson proper. We're missing Izquierdo on the left, which I think is a big loss. especially in the game against United last season. I mean, he gives us that pace, that little bit of cutting in behind. I think he's going to be really missed tomorrow. So I think we'll put Solly March instead. I think on the right, now this is the big question, and I'll probably take flack for it. Do you start Yannick Bash or do you start Knockaert? I'm putting myself out there. I'd start Knockaert. I've had some furious debates this week about whether you start Knockaert or Yannick Bash, but I haven't seen enough of Yannick Bash to be completely convinced. But Knockaert turns up for the big games, and he did last season against United. He was our man of the match against United last season, and he's just raring to go. He loves the occasion, and I'd give him that opportunity. All right, if it doesn't work out, make the subs at 60, 70 minutes. I'll take it on the chin. But I think you've got to start him just for consistency as well. Get Knockaert in, keep it going. Obviously, sit Gross just behind, and then who do you start up front? I think they're going to have to start Murray up front. I think they are going to have to start Murray up front. Again, a bit of consistency in the team, a bit of stability, and a good bit of hold-up play. I think in terms of the tactic on Sunday, I think is going to be we're playing for a minimal loss or a draw. I don't think we're going to be going out there for the win. I mean, Houghton's basically expressed it already that he's not looking to go repeat actions of last season. Last season was sort of all the stars aligning at the right time. Last home game of the season, we needed 3 points for survival. Bish, bash, bosh, it happened. The circumstances are very different. I think we'll play really defensively, really reserved. But we did that against the top six last season. Against every team, we played defensively. If we caught something on the break, brilliant. And I think Murray provides that hold-up play that we're going to be looking for.
No, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Obviously, I mean, that's the reason you said that, obviously Chris Hughton now obviously expressing, the fact that, he's probably going to go for either a minimal loss or a draw, that sort of thing. That is what I think is going to be very difficult for us to play against you because, I imagine you're going to be very defensively compact as well. And I think you're going to be very hard to break down. But as I said, you've said, Anthony Knockaert, he was the absolute thorn in our side the last time we played you guys. And I've got to say, he's got quality. He does have quality. When you've got players like Knockaert, Gross on your side, you can create stuff. And that is where the main danger is going to come from. But yeah, no, it's interesting to get an opposition view for once, obviously, because usually I just talk about how, I think Man United's going to sell. But it was good to get your thoughts on that as well.
Alan, our main concern for you is, I watched the game against Leicester the other day, and I think if we got undone the most last season against teams that were quick on the counter and literally carved us wide open. Now, for United, we're quite happy to have all 11 men behind the ball and have you work around us. And last time we played you, it didn't work. I mean, you're outstanding. I say outstanding. Your best player of the day, I thought, was Lingard. Other than that, it was just all a bit at sea. I mean, Sanchez didn't turn up last season against us last season. Pogba looked lost against us last season. I mean, it'd be interesting what you think you're going to set up this time and like who are the big game players. I mean, you've got a lot of injuries at centre back. There's big talks at the moment, isn't there, about Pogba's discipline, about what the Pogba problem. How do you get the best out of Pogba? Sanchez as well. I mean, Sanchez against Leicester last week, I really didn't rate him. I thought he looked really poor in possession. He just didn't look at the races at all.
No, yeah, I have to agree with that. I have to agree, and I'll tell you, it's gonna be a difficult match. It's gonna be very interesting, but I will get into how I think it's gonna set up in just a second. I'm gonna read a few of the lovely comments. Alan here says we bought loads of under 23s this close season. Investments for the future. Obviously, George mentioned that there as well. Obviously investing for the future, which can only be a good thing. Really, can only be a good thing. Nick says, what if you drop like Sunderland did? Would the fans stay and the players? So he's thinking if Brighton were to drop out of the league like Sunderland did and go down to League One, which I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but do you reckon the fans and players would want to stay?
I think players would go. Fans, it's like you open a kettle of fish. These are big questions. But right, would fans stay? Brighton's quite unique in the fact that the hardcore fans have been there from when we were in really bad times, when we were on the brink of non-existing as a club, not having a ground, days of being at Withdean in like minus temperatures. But as a club, as we've grown, you've got this whole new set of fans. And it was seen last season with people holding up banners. You had Brighton fans in the home end holding up banners asking for shirts from the superstars on the opposite team. I mean, the big standout one was against Chelsea. Hazard had just absolutely ripped us apart. And you had kids in the home end saying, Hazard can have your shirt. Now, for the diehard fans, I understand it's embarrassing. You don't really want to see it. But it's that, I mean, that we're generating money out of that. We're filling the 30,000 stadium. Originally, Brighton was your second club. Brighton was a second club. You'd have a Premier League team and you'd have Brighton. Now, a lot of those fans are the ones that are going to the stadium. It's your local football team. And it's the demographics starting to change. If we dropped all the way back down to League One, would they stay around? It would remain to be seen. But again, within that as well, you have fans that are Brighton through and through diehard, that if it got to that stage, there'd almost be denial. We've had a couple of rows on the channel within the last year about videos I've done as well and things other people have done about at what point do you become critical of your team, in that Brighton have almost got a free pass, as in, hey, we're in the Premier League, let's enjoy it, let's all have a laugh. If we lose, we lose. But I sort of stand in the camp of at what point does it get so bad that you can then critique your team? As in, when do you say that players have performed badly? Even at Watford last week, there was furious rows about, do you write it off because it's the opening game of the season? Or was it a terrible performance and you've got to say it was a terrible performance? It's how much do you let go? A couple of times last season, I was pretty annoyed in videos. I did make videos where I said I thought we should have been winning games. The draws to Southampton, losing to Huddersfield, I thought they were games we should have won. And if we had won, I mean, we were only 3 points within being 13th in the Premier League last season, if we'd picked up the points in those games. But again, it's do you take survival at any cost, or do you start becoming critical the further you move up the table?
It's a good point. It really is a good point, actually. And, I do think that Brighton, I do agree there has been a bit of a mentality of, obviously, they got up to the Premier League in the way they did. And, I think, looking at it from an outsider's point of view, I think there has been, it's not too much criticism of Brighton, but I do think, it is difficult. It's difficult because I think really you've actually done quite well in terms of, where, obviously last season you I wouldn't say you were close to going down. Obviously, you got the points in the end, but I think I do agree with you with the points you made. I think it is difficult to kind of criticize your team when you're in quite a decent position from where you were. So yeah, it's a very good point. The Price HD wants to stream, man. How are you doing? I'm doing just fine. Alan here says put not card on the left and Ali J on the right. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't object to it, actually. I wouldn't object to trialing it. I mean, I didn't think Solly March looked up to scratch last game. He didn't look fit. He didn't look really with it. I mean, he couldn't get across past the first man. I mean, I guess tomorrow you can be a bit experimental. Tomorrow, Sunday. I guess Sunday you can be a bit experimental. I mean, if we're going out with nothing to lose, why not? I wouldn't mind seeing it. I mean, last season we did that in quite a few games. We had knockout switch wings just to mix up the play, mix up the tactics. I mean, it remained to be seen. I just can't see Houghton doing it in just terms of stability. I think he's very set in that he wants a well-structured, well-set-up side. I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's going to be thinking about aiming not to lose. We saw that quite a lot last season. And again, it split the fans about, do you go out and play to win or do you play out to lose by little as possible? I mean, our goal difference was great last season. I mean, City at home, we only lost 2-0. United away, we only lost 2-0. We really did grind out some safe results. And it does make the difference. I mean, when you had teams like West Brom who were letting them in like water. I understand the idea behind it, but again, it's that idea of, do you want to go out and play to win, or do you want to just sort of conserve yourselves?
Yeah, that is a dilemma, isn't it? That really is a dilemma. But I still, obviously, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting how you set up, but I said it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be a difficult game, no matter how you set up, to be honest. But as I said, there are some threats in that team I'm worried about, so we've got to keep an eye on them. But a few more comments here. BHFC News going with his whole starting lineup. He goes Ryan Montoya, Duffy Dunk, Bernardo. I can't pronounce that now. I do apologise. I'm really bad at reading his name. It's your Iranian player.
Call him AJ.
AJ, right, okay. We'll call him AJ. Stevens, Basuma, Knockout, Gross, and Locadia. So there is BHFC News' lineup. Anything that jumps out at you?
The swapping out Proper for Basuma. I really do rate Basuma. I think he's looked really sharp. The last few times I've seen him, pre-season, he looked sharp. He banged in that free kick as well. And then last game we saw him. He had little moments of flair where I was like, oh, he was the one that could have changed the game if anyone was going to. But I don't know whether I want to see him that far back where Proper sits. I'd rather see him in a more advanced role, more where Gross is. But then I think that'd require changing the formation so that you lose. You'd have almost similar to an England setup where you'd have Stevens as a pivot, like a holding midfielder, Gross and Basuma slightly further forward, sort of were in that Dele Alli, Lingard position. Knockout on the one wing, Solly March, AJ, another winger, and then the lone striker. But then you could have Basuma and Gross laying them off. But I don't, again, it depends whether you want to play that formation against United, because I think we're going to be looking more defensively. I think you could maybe sort of call that if it was in a 50-50 game rather than a game like, I mean, tomorrow, I think realistically, we're going to be searching for anything. Sunday, we're going to be searching for anything.
No, yeah. I mean, I'd say just, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, as seeing it, listening to what how you guys have been, setting up and stuff. And as I said, it's going to be difficult. But I mean, obviously the new, Basuma as well. I mean, I've seen a bit of him. I think I've seen a bit of him play, and I rate him. I do rate him. He's a talent, and I think along with Knockout there, Gross as well. You've got threat. There's no doubt about it. So we talked about the Brighton perspective. Going to welcome a few new people. Welcome. Oh, Daz is already here. Welcome United lads, and welcome Matthew Jones. Welcome to the stream. If you want to go check out their channel, their link is in the description down below. Fantastic Manchester United content, to go and check them out. Also, there's other channels in the link in the description down below. Channels I genuinely rate. So go check them out. Link in the description down below if you haven't already. But we now move on to the United perspective as well, because I have to give my perspective. And I think, as I said, it's going to be difficult. And there's some, I was on a podcast yesterday on a different channel, and I was talking to a Chelsea fan. He said he thought it was going to be an absolute walkover. He thought it was going to be 4-0 United. But just the way that we played against Brighton, I mean, obviously we won 2-0 last time out, but in fact, in the Premier League last season, it was a lucky deflected Ashley Young goal that got us the 1-0 win. So it's never an easy game. So I doubt it's going to be a walkover. Plus, obviously, Brighton, they'll be up for it first home game of the season. So for me, I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think we're going to, obviously we know from the press conference that Paul Pogba is going to be Manchester United captain. Whether that's a ploy by Jose Mourinho with all the speculation of him potentially going to Barcelona and Juventus, kind of fending that off a bit, saying that, if we give him the captaincy, it gives him a bit of responsibility and it makes him want to stay at the club. Although, the report that Neil Custis did in The Sun about Paul Pogba and Jose Mourinho's relationship, it's absolute rubbish for me. It's absolute rubbish. But there you go. I could rant about The Sun all day. But anyway, I think Obviously, we know Paul Pogba is going to be starting in that midfield. We also know injury news that Valencia and Matic are back training, but they won't be back for the game. So it's obviously we won't be seeing them, which is a shame because I think Valencia was absolutely fantastic when he was playing. Darmian against Leicester, he loves to be skinned. He really loves to be skinned. He got skinned about 5 times against Leicester, and it's frustrating to watch. But I thought he had a better second half, so you never know. So I think Darmian's definitely going to be playing. We're going to play a back 4 of Darmian. I think Bailly's going to keep his place. And I think we'll play Bailly and Lindelof because, as you said, rightly, George, we have a lot of injuries at centre-back at the moment. And also a few potential people wanting to leave. Marcus Rojo been linked to clubs away as well. So we might, Rojo might be going. So I think we'll be keeping the partnership of Bailly and Lindelof. And I think Luke Shaw getting his first goal in professional football. I mean, that's very hard to believe. After 145 professional appearances, Luke Shaw has finally got his first goal, and I was so happy for him. So I think he'll get that left back spot. And I'm actually hopeful that we're going to play the 3 midfield of Pogba, Pereira, and Fred. Now we started Pereira and Fred together as a partnership, and it worked really well. It really gave us the kind of gave us the attacking threat and the kind of the forward-thinking mentality in the midfield that we haven't had for a long time. Last season we were guilty of getting in that midfield, passing it around the back loads, and unfortunately, and that is why we ended up not really doing well because we passing it around the back, slowing down the play. We didn't. You look at teams like Liverpool, their midfield's really quick, gets the ball up to the forwards, and their forwards more than likely finishes. So I think in that sense we need to. I don't like to say we need to be a bit more like Liverpool because that's probably the worst thing you can say as a Man United fan, but. I'm not going to say it again, but you know what I mean. But I think Fred and Pereira, that Samba partnership, that Brazilian Samba partnership, is going to work. Some people might say, obviously having the option of Scott McTominay is a bit more of a physical player, might be better against Brighton. But I like Fred and Pereira and Pogba playing that midfield 3. We really look good against Leicester, passing the ball. And I'm hoping, Fred can have a good first Premier League away game. But I think he will get a bit of a wake-up call as to how the Premier League goes because, Brighton are not a bad side. And, going away from home, it'll be the first time he does that in the Premier League. I think he'll be in for a shock. But, Fred and Pereira, I think will be a decent partnership in there. And then I think we'll go with a 3 up front. Now, I think Martial will be back. And I think Lukaku will be back. And it'll be interesting to see which out of Lukaku and Martial and Rashford as well. Those are the 3 that really are competing for the striker's role at the moment. I see Lukaku starting, and I hope Lukaku starts because, last season, for most of the season, he was an absolute goal machine. Parts of the season, he missed decent chances. Against Leicester, he missed an absolute sitter. But hopefully, he's fully fit now, back from the World Cup. Hopefully, he can get his eye for goal back in. But I would like to see Sanchez, Lukaku, and Martial lining up. I think that front 3 is very, very good. But again, I think you mentioned it as well. Alexis Sanchez against Leicester was so poor on the ball, so poor. It was almost sad watching it. I was watching him, lose the ball I think he lost the ball. It wasn't a record, but it felt like a record. Like at least 30 times in the game, picks up the ball and losing the ball. I mean, obviously he's one of our best players technically. There's no doubt about that. When you've got Alexis Sanchez in your team, you've got a potential match winner. But I don't see why the left-hand side is his best position. I definitely think playing him in behind Lukaku is his best position. And also when he's on that left-hand side, Pogba usually plays on the left of the 3, and they get in each other's way. So I think and that's when the gap between the midfield and the forward 3 start to break down a bit. So I think we need to. I think if I was Mourinho, I'd like to see Sanchez coming in off the left and playing a bit more in behind Lukaku and having that link-up play. But yeah, that's kind of my prediction of how we're going to set up. A few comments are coming here. Welcome, Rasmus. Welcome to stream, mate. Thanks for joining. And welcome, Rashford Jawara. I do apologize if I pronounced that last name wrong, but thank you very much for joining, guys. If you haven't already, please feel free to leave a like. And also, I would appreciate if you go and check out BrightonFan TV in the description down below. I came across George's channel and I thought, you know what? I want to do a video with this guy for the preview. I thought it was really, really good. So I really recommend it. Go and check it out, of course. If you are a Brighton fan watching this, or any fan, of course, if you want to go, just check them out. Link in the description down below. So we've got a few comments here. Rasmus says, "Don't worry, we'll batter them at home 4-0. Well, there you go. As I said, I'll take that. I'll take that every day of the week. I don't think it's going to be as easy as that, but it's good to be positive. United lads goes with a 2-0 United. I'd say it's a bit more realistic than 4-0, but dare to dream. But yeah, 2-0, keeping a clean sheet away from home wouldn't be bad. I'd not be opposed to that whatsoever. Rashford says, Brighton fan, you will lose by a force. We shall see soon. There you go. He's been Rashford there, being a bit of defiance there, being a bit savage towards the guests today.
I think I don't know. I think after listening to your setup, I think Darmian and Shaw are the weak links in that defence. I mean, Shaw last time out when we beat you at home, Knockout ran Shaw ragged. I mean, he was turning him inside out. Whether that happens again tomorrow remains to be seen. Sunday, not tomorrow. Remains to be seen. And then whether, I mean, on the left, I don't know, Darmian, like you said last week, it depends what kind of game he's having. De Gea is the strong link. That's the main bit I'm worried about, is even if we do get ourselves into a shooting position, De Gea pulls off the miraculous somehow. Again, I think, like you said, though, Fred and Pereira are going to be your bit of danger. I mean, that's what worked for us well last time, is that we were quite happy with a 0-0 draw, if I'm honest. And you playing it back and passing it around the back, we're like, all right, fine, crack on, do that all day long. And then when we had our opportunity, I mean, only by goal line technology, took our chances, and then we sat back for the rest of the game, and we're quite happy to soak it up. Like I said earlier, I thought Sanchez was poor against Leicester last week. I mean, I watched the game. Sanchez was really, really poor. I know it'd be interesting to hear your idea about where Pogba fits in your team, whether does he command too much respect at United? I mean, for France in the World Cup, we saw him in a bit more of a disciplined role, where he was very much stick to your role and do well at your role. At United, he's sort of given a bit of a free rein as to where he goes. Mourinho bows down, gives him the captaincy. Whether that's money or not, the price tag that he's commanding, stopping him going to Barcelona, sort of handing over everything he wants. It's like you're saying about Pogba and Sanchez getting a bit tangled over each other. Where does he sit? Martial, I don't know whether I'm worried about Martial. Rashford, when he played against us last season, Rashford was quiet. He was quite quiet. Lingard was the one I was worried about last season. Lingard was the one that looked dangerous. He was the one that was pinging balls in from outside the box, and we were a bit like, oh, don't know how to deal with this. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a 4-0. If we played like we did against Watford last week, it could be a 4-0. But I just don't think it will. I think we'll have too much respect to have it as a 4-0. Realistically, at worst, it pains me to say it, 2-0 loss. And I'd be unhappy, but I wouldn't be disgraced. Anything, a draw or better, I'll be chuffed. I'll be ecstatic. Because, I mean, our first 3 games of the season, Watford away, United at home, Liverpool away. And it's very realistic that we could end up with no points for any of those games. So anything tomorrow. Sunday. Anything Sunday would be glorious.
Yeah, no, I obviously, that is what you're going to be aiming to do, and I think a draw for you guys on Sunday, I think, as you said, will be a decent result. But I mean, you mentioned Lingard as well. I mean, it's a shame because I don't think he's going to be ready to play. I reckon he'll be on the bench. I don't think he'll be ready to play. But we have that dilemma of we've got Rashford, Martial, Lingard, who Mourinho obsessed with playing them as wing players instead of in behind. I think obviously. Martial, when he signed, was unbelievable for us as a striker, considering he was a bit of a panic buy. Rashford, as you said, looked very quiet against you last time, and is he really a wide player? I don't know. That's the dilemma. But I think with Martial, it totally depends on what mood he's in. If we've seen, I've seen him. Even though it's only pre-season, I've seen him, breaking ankles against Real Madrid's defense. I've seen him with some brilliant performances, but there's some games which really he's not at the races, and I think he'll be on the bench for Sunday's game. I think if Mourinho's going to play him, I reckon he's going to play him up front. And I think Mourinho likes Sanchez too much not to drop him from the left, because Martial can sometimes play on the left as well. But yeah, it's a shame that Lingard, I doubt he's going to be starting. I think he might come on from the bench. But I agree. I do think Lingard last season was a bit of a revelation. A lot of United fans thought, he was a bit of a squad player, really. But actually last season he proved he can really compete for his place, and he had a decent World Cup, I thought. So hopefully he continues his good form. We're going to read a few of the comments here. United lad says, United have always played with the flanks. Few clubs still do. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing, right? Sanchez on the left is all right, but we usually play Juan Mata on the right. And I always think when opposition see Juan Mata on the right, they go, yippee-ki-yay, we've got Juan Mata on the right who's slow, who is slow as anything. Yes, he's got a brilliant technical ability, but as long as you've got a quick fullback against Juan Mata, we've got no chance of counter-attacking, which you said yourself, George, that counter-attacking football, really fast counter-attacking football, can really open you up. And with Juan Mata, we have no choice of doing that down the right. So unfortunately, I do think Mata's going to start. I would like to see someone a bit quicker there just to challenge their fullbacks, but I think Mata's going to start. Mata, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on him. I might get some backlash for that, but I'm not hating on Mata at all, because I think he's a very, very, technically gifted player. And I think he's great in behind the striker, similar to Sanchez, but he's not a winger. I'm sorry, he's not a winger. Welcome, Karga. Welcome to stream, mate. Thank you for joining. If you aren't already, please leave a like as well. He says, how are we doing? I'm doing well. Rashford says Lingard will score in the cut, and Lukaku and Pereira will score as well. So, I'll tell you, if Pereira gets his debut goal, I mean, that would be a great thing for him. Also, Pereira's been called up to the Brazil squad as well, which is great for his confidence. United lads, complimenting your background, says not a Brighton fan, but cool background. So there you go. Complimenting your background.
It is a makeshift background where originally it was a blanket, like a bed throw, but we pinned it to the wall, and it makes that is our background, our makeshift background.
Well, I tell you, sometimes the makeshift ones are the best ones. That's what they say. But yeah, I like it. I do like it as well. Rashford says, OMG, why Valencia captain? He's not captain for this game, but he is the club captain. He says he can't even speak bloody English. Well, I mean, look, I've seen some United fans saying, I've seen a lot of harsh reviews about Valencia being captain. One, Mark Goldbridge, who I'm not sure if I'm not sure if you've heard about him, George, but Mark Goldbridge, obviously a big Man United fan in the community, does the United stand and stuff. He actually came out and said that Valencia was probably one of the worst United captains in history, which is a bit harsh considering he's only been a captain for half a season. But I think he can speak a bit of English. I think yeah, if he's not very good with English, I don't think it'd be wise to make him captain. But I don't think he's done that bad of a job, to be honest. I don't think he's done that badly. I don't see. I mean, anyway, I don't see any player be able to come in and do a better job than he would.
Do you think Pogba deserves the captaincy over Valencia, or do you think Pogba's commanding that sort of honour now that he's a World Cup winner, the price tag, the threat of going to Barcelona?
It's a great question, I've got to say. I would rather Pogba captain, if I'm honest. I think the thing is that obviously we saw a lot of the stuff at the World Cup, those videos of him, motivating the whole French team, and that is positive. But I mean, there's the other side, which you could say, is that only because obviously the French team probably has more of his mates in it. He knows them better. He can communicate with them better, and I definitely agree that. I mean, some United fans will disagree, but I totally think that that this giving Pogba the captaincy is Mourinho saying, silencing all the rumours that Pogba's going to go, and also, kind of making Pogba, giving him almost, somewhat bowing down to him, giving him the captaincy, which I'm not sure if I like to see that. Yes, I want Pogba to stay, because if Pogba leaves, I mean, if Pogba has a good game, we win the game. Simple as that. So if Pogba leaves, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And
who would you rather keep, Pogba or Mourinho, if you had to make the call, one or the other?
I've seen this question been asked, and
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. It's such a difficult question, because I'm firmly Mourinho in. There's no doubt about that. This is so difficult. I think if I'm going to, the short answer, I'd probably let Pogba go. I'd probably let Pogba go. Now, I mean, that is very controversial. I'm not sure if you guys in the chat will agree with me, but I'd probably let Pogba go, to be honest, just because I believe Jose Mourinho is the right man. And I mean, at this stage, I'd probably like to keep Mourinho. But if we were in the transfer window and we were able to replace Pogba, I would keep Mourinho and get rid of Pogba. But actually, I'm going to change it. At this moment in time, the fact we can't bring anyone in, I would get rid of Mourinho and keep Pogba. But it's very difficult. It really is difficult. But yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good question.
If you now, in terms of centre back this season, pulling in centre backs in the transfer window, would you have taken a last minute centre back, or would you rather do without?
Again, it's a good question. I think
because you're now under it, would you have taken an unsatisfied centre back, ready made, loads of money? Because I think Woodward was ready to sign the checkbook. I mean, from what I've heard, he was ready to sign the checkbook. It was just you couldn't get the players in.
Yeah, no, that was the thing. Yeah, that was the story. It was, as I said, it was a bit of shambolic, really. I don't know what was going on, but it was, you know, when we were linked to a centre back first, I thought, do we really need a centre back? You know, for me, I like the partnership of Bailly and Lindelof. I thought, you know, Lindelof last season, I wasn't really sure if he was given the best of opportunities. He had an absolute shocker in his first game against Huddersfield. And then he got Mourinho, you know, threw his toys out the pram and didn't play him. Played Smalling and Smalling and Jones, and you know, having Smalling and Jones, you know, anywhere near our defence is just shocking, really. But my grievances aside, I think that, you know, if we were to sign someone like Toby Alderweireld, I wouldn't have been opposed to it. But I do think we're going to look for someone like that in January because. Obviously, if you go by the fact that we have left the number 5 number, obviously famously worn by Rio Ferdinand at Manchester United, that number's been left free. So whether we're going to go back in for a centre back in January, I'm not sure. But I mean, looking back at it, yes, obviously, you know, it was frustrating not to sign anyone. But there's also a question of, you know, whether we need a centre back. I would have much rather seen a right winger come in. So to answer your question, if we were to bring in, I think. The only centre-back out of the options that we were linked with that I'd love to see come in would have been Toby Alderweireld. If we had signed Alderweireld, someone who's ready-made, someone who's been part of a very successful, very strong Spurs defence, alongside Eric Bailly, it would have been a formidable centre-back partnership. But our defensive record last season wasn't that bad, really. We had the second best in the league. We only conceded one more than Man City. So I didn't think really the defence was the thing that we need to strengthen the most, to be honest. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that, really.
Do you think the attack, you were saying about the defence being only one less than Man City, but obviously the goals for wasn't as good as Man City. Do you think that's down to the Mourinho style of play, or is that individual players not showing up? So Sanchez not showing up, Lukaku not showing up, Rashford, Lingard, Martial. Whose fault is that? Is that Mourinho's, or is that down to individual players?
I mean, I tell you what, you give me some good questions here, I've got to say. But no, I think it's Jose Mourinho's style of play. I think that when you've got, you know, Lukaku, Martial, Sanchez, you know, Lingard in your team, Rashford, you know, you would expect we'd actually, you know, be able to score some bloody goals. You know, we'd expect to actually be, you know, getting some end product. And for me, I think, you know, a lot of pressure is put on Jose Mourinho with the style of play. And I agree. I think the way he likes to play, he likes to think about not conceding first before scoring. That's his not conceding is his main priority, which for a club that's trying to win the Premier League, is that the right mentality? I'm not sure. I still think he's the right man for the job, incidentally. But I do think in some cases we could have had more goals if, you know, our players, you know, the likes of Lukaku. I thought Lukaku last season, he was great for us, but did miss some of his opportunities. I remember vividly 2-2 against Leicester. We had at least 3 or 4 gilt-edged opportunities where we could have put that game away, but we didn't. So I think some pressure needs to be put on Jose Mourinho in that sort of way. But in another sense, I think the players need to take a bit of responsibility for that, because I think last season, giving Mourinho the benefit of the doubt, if we'd actually finished our opportunities, I think we would have done better. But yeah, no, it's a decent debate. I'm just going to come to a few of the comments. But yeah, it's a decent debate there. let's see what you guys are saying. The horse the horse T33N wants to stream it. Thanks for joining. If you haven't already, please leave a like. They're absolutely fantastic. Alan here says, actually no, it's all right, Alan. Don't worry about it. I realised you were talking to somebody else in the chat there, which is good. Rashford says he will drop Fred for Fellaini because he likes him too much. Well, we know how he likes Fellaini so much. I don't understand why Fellaini's still at this football club. But anyway, but yeah, I don't think he's going to drop Fellaini. No, I don't think he's going to drop Fred. I think if he did drop Fred, I think the pitchforks and torches would come out from the United fans. But I doubt he's going to drop Fred. I think Fellaini will be on the bench, and Fellaini's an interesting one because I do think. Obviously, it's definitely not the United way, but the last few minutes of the game, get him in the box, cause a bit of carnage, plan B or plan C. I don't mind Marouane Fellaini being that. But if he's starting in that midfield, I honestly feel a bit sick when I see the team sheet. Lad said, do you think Brighton will progress from a team fighting relegation? I tell you what, it's a very good question, United lads. I'm going to throw that over to George on that. Do you think that Brighton will progress from a team fighting relegation?
I think we will. I think the time scale, I'm not sure. I think we've got to get through this season first. Last season I thought we did exceptionally well. But again, there was a little bit of not luck, but we were lucky that everyone else was bad. We've got to be looking at building this year. Staying up, and again, then the money that comes with it, the money that's generated, then re-strengthening again for next season. A lot of the signings we've got in the window just gone are long-term investments. We're signing 4 or 5 year deal contracts, so we are looking for the future. I think next season might be the one we could start looking, staying solid. A bit like the Bournemouth and Southampton model of being in mid-table, solid mid-table. And then season after that, Tony Bloom said himself he wants top 6. He's looking at top 6 long term. There's not a set time scale for that. But again, following that Burnley model of sort of progressing up the league rather than scrapping out for relegation every season.
Yeah, no, and I think Brian, I totally agree. I think you'll stay up this season, and I think. With the right investment, obviously, I think is that your chairman you're speaking about? Yeah, chairman. Just making sure. But obviously your chairman's got high aspirations, which is great. And I think with the right investment, there's no reason why. But I think that's the thing. Obviously that's the thing. I think once you get promoted, after you get through that first season. You get through the next few seasons, and then we've sort of seen with Bournemouth. We've seen Bournemouth go from a team that's came up from the Championship, and now they seem to be almost a mainstay in the Premier League. They're kind of a mid-table side, and potentially Brian, even in the long term, could go one better than that. So potentially, I'm going to move this on a bit. Keep getting your thoughts on the live chat, but I'm going to move this on because I'm not sure how long we've been live, but. I don't want it to be a really long stream, but I could talk about this game for ages because it's very, very fascinating. Rasmus here says I don't know what it is about South American players. Most of them don't learn English. Sanchez is the same. Well, the thing is, look, if you come to a foreign country, it's always going to be difficult. But maybe it is just a thing with South American players. I'm not sure. But obviously, from Brian's point of view, you've got. Izquierdo, I think he's from Ecuador. I'm not sure if you know what his language skills are like, but
Colombian.
Oh, Colombian.
But he does speak English. The majority of the Brighton players speak English at some level. You can meet them after the games. You talk to them after the games. They do try, even if their language skills are limited. They will talk to you after the game. They're usually quite good. But I guess we've got an English manager. An English club, and I guess a lot of the communication is done in English.
Yeah, no, that is true. But I always have sympathy for foreign players coming over, and it's going to be difficult because English. I currently study English at the moment. I tell you, it's a language which foreigners will find difficult when you're learning it. I mean, learning Spanish, French, much easier, I've got to say. But Alan here says, I've got to go. As a Brighton fan, my heart says 1-0 Brighton, but the realist in me says 3-0 Man United. Good night. Well, thanks for joining us, Alan. Appreciate it. And obviously, it's good. Yeah, cheers, and obviously repping the Brighton fan there. But that brings us well on to the final thing I want to ask you, which is obviously we can't have a preview without the score prediction and the goal scorers. So obviously, Alan brought us onto that topic very, very well there with his 2 predictions, his realistic prediction and his heart prediction. If you guys want to get your predictions in the live chat, I'll be reading them out as we go. But George, as a Brighton fan, we know your thoughts on how it's going to, how you think it's going to go, how you think it's going to set up. But what do you think the score prediction is going to be, buddy?
Are we going realistic and then dream, or are we sticking with just one?
Just go both. Just go both.
Realistic. 1-0 United. Dream. 1-0 Brighton. Goal scorer. I'm going knockout. Outside the box, right foot, curls it top corner.
Oh, I mean, you're already giving me nightmares with that. But no, I mean, I'd say, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I agree it's going to be a close game. But obviously, by your predictions, it seems like you think it's going to be a close game, and I'd have to agree. I think it's going to be, on paper, it looks like United we should wipe the floor with you guys. But I don't think it's going to be as simple as that. Nick here says English players don't learn Spanish or French or German, do they? Well, I mean, look, I don't know about English players in the foreign countries. I imagine they, if you ask Gary Lineker, he knows about 3 or 4 different languages as well as English. So I guess it's a bit different for him. Rasmus gives you a United fan point of view. He's going with a 4-0. He's confident. A lot of United fans are near confident for the game on Sunday. I'm going to give my prediction, obviously. I think it's going to be a bit closer than that, Rasmus. I think it's going to be... Realistically, well, both of them, I think realistically, both of them, I think we're gonna win. I do like being very kind of positive and hopeful, so I'm gonna go with realistic 2-1 win to Man United. I think it's gonna be close. I think Lukaku, when he's fully back fit, if we give him the right service, I think he'll get a goal. And I think Pogba might score again. Oh, my mic's nearly gone there. I think Pogba might score again. Obviously scored the penalty. If he does get another penalty, it looks like Pogba's on penalty duty. So I think if Pogba and Lukaku getting the goals, and then I think if Knockout is playing, I think he might be the main danger man. And I think I'll probably be able to say with his assist record, Pascal Gross getting the assist. I'll probably be able to predict that already, but I'll try not to think about that too much. But that was my realistic prediction. My unrealistic prediction is as Rasmus says, 4-0 United. It could happen. It could happen. I don't see it happening. I just think Mourinho away from home likes to keep it solid at the back. I don't see it happening. So I feel like it's going to be a tight game, but I think we'll just pip it 2-1. And I'll be happy to get the points and get out of there and go on to the Spurs game, because that's going to be a difficult one for us. Rasmus, before I'm going to ask George that final question, just for I get Nick's prediction. He says 2-2. We have the first prediction of a draw, which is interesting. A 2-2 draw, high-scoring draw. I'm not sure if I see a high. I mean, it's 2-2 high-scoring. It's up to debate, but it's. I tell you, if that comes off, fair play to you, Nick. But I don't see it, to be fair. Nick also says doesn't believe it's going to be 4-0. And Rashford here says 3-1 United. Lukaku, Lingard, and Pereira scores. So there you go. So all the United fans in here saying a win for United, as you expect. George there going with a realistic 1-0 win to United. So I guess he's kind of gone with a 1-0 prediction. But obviously in his heart, he wants Brighton to win. And who doesn't? Well, United fans, of course. But anyway, the last question I'm going to ask you, Rasmus here, says, ask your guest, what would he do if Brighton were to do a Leicester? Now, we all know what that means. Obviously, the fact that they won the league. George, what do you think would go on in your mind, in your life? What would you do if Brighton were to win the league this season?
You can't conceive it. You'd have to get tattoos, the works. Like you'd have to do. People got tattoos when we got promoted to the Premier League, let alone if we won the league. It'd be scenes. I mean, we were chuffed to get a run in the FA Cup last year as well. That's the closest we've come to winning silverware was losing to United in the FA Cup 1983, FA Cup final in a replay. I mean, any silverware, it'd just be carnage. I haven't seen anything like Brighton Town Centre when we got promoted to the Premier League. The promotion parade was manic. The whole of the seafront was closed. Big open top bus, sea of blue and white. Let alone, I can't imagine the scenes if we won the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I can. I mean, for a club like Brighton, it would. I'm correct me if I'm wrong. It's probably one of the best moments in your history, to be honest. But I tell you, I think if that was to happen, I think it'd be more of a shock than Leicester, because obviously Leicester just survived the season before, but they still had some decent players. You know, Vardy, Mahrez. I'm not saying Brighton don't have decent players, but it would be a huge shock. It'd be a huge shock. But we've seen it's happened before. You know, the Leicester has kept the dream alive for these for smaller clubs. But I mean, to be fair, if there's any smaller team who was going to win the league, I think for me, if I was wanting one of them to do it, I think Brighton would be up there. So we'll see about that. We'll see about that. Maybe a win against United on Sunday could kickstart the dream. But we'll wait and see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I'm going to wrap up there, guys. A huge thank you to George for coming on the stream tonight. Really appreciate it, mate.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And also, it's just really, really interesting to get an opposition point of view, because obviously, as I said at the start, it's just usually me, you know, talking into a camera about the Man United point of view. We don't really focus on the other team, but it was great to get an opposition point of view. So as I said, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you very much as well to Sarah for the commitment shown to the cause as well. I appreciate you as well. And thanks to everyone who has been watching. Appreciate it. If you haven't already, go and check out George's BrightonFan TV channel in the description down below for more great content over there. Obviously, he'll be doing, you know, previews and reviews and whatnot. So if you want to go check that out, obviously, link in the description down below. Other channels as well, which I rate, link in the description down below. Subscribe to the channel, of course, if you are new. It's going to be an interesting game on Sunday. It's going to be an interesting game. One thing I'm going to tell you guys is I won't be here. I'm going away for the next week, so I won't be here. Well, I might be uploading, depending if I've got internet. We'll stay tuned on that. But thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it tonight. Really appreciate the support. Leave a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Go and check out BrightonFan TV in the description down below. And we'll see you guys later. Probably next video will be the review of the game, hopefully with a positive result. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys in a bit.